Welcome to In It to Win It. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. We are here with Darrell Thomas of the Money Level Show. He shows do it yourself investors tips on wealth building, market analysis, and financial independence. Darrell, thank you for coming on the show.
Yes, Steve. Thank you for bringing me on. Been watching your show for a little while. I think been about a couple of years or so. So I'm happy to be on.
Yes, and I've been watching your show as well, sir. We interview a lot of the same people, and we're very like-minded. So pleasure's all on this side of the table.
My bad. Before I think you had messaged me and said you commented said, "Hey, put the timestamps there." It's all these things we got to do as YouTubers and stuff. So yeah, appreciate you.
Yes, yes. Okay, let's start out like I always do. And what is your macro view of the world economy and financial markets today?
Yeah, so the world economy, it's kind of interesting because we do have, I mean, China just came out and they're going to start doing some massive stimulus. I mean, we saw the Chinese equities run significantly. I was able to participate in that. I matter sold some of my call options a little early because I was not expecting some of them to get to the levels that they are at, and so I missed out on some money, but I did make some money. So that was kind of one piece where like I was at first just kind of like, okay, it seems like the world is just in a negative space, higher interest rates, inflation. There was a lot of talk about China's economy as well, and so that's gonna. I think that's a massive driver, especially for commodities and such. I mean, because they're the world's biggest importer of commodities and a lot of what they do, and so that's one piece that's kind of changing my view a little bit. However, we do have an election coming up in the United States. There's talk about tariffs. There's talk about spending plans. So I do think that uh, the national debt's going to go higher, deficit spending is going to go higher, and we'll see how this whole tariff thing plays out. Like, I mean, I'm just like, okay, what is this going to do? Is this going to create tension? There's a lot of onshoring of jobs and a lot of talk about that and how to get. I think Kamala Harris just came out and said we need a critical minerals reserve, and so it seems like the whole global collaboration ever since Russia, Ukraine, and I mean, there's been tensions before that, but that seemed like the catalyst when we took Russia off of the SWIFT system, and it seems like there's a lot less collaboration, and people are trying to bring stuff back on. Countries are trying to bring their own supply back on and then focus on the nations that they have bigger allyship with.
Yeah, well, nice catch on that China call option, by the way. I just woke up one morning and wondered why all my commodities were up higher and then read and found out why. So at least you made money from it that way. That's nice. Okay, let's see. You interview a lot of the big names in the place, in the space, Lobo Tigre, Rick Rule. If you had to summarize, what you've learned from starting your YouTube channel, what's some of the biggest lessons that you've got from that?
I think the biggest lessons, mostly, I mean, that I've learned from everyone, but in particular, I'll share a few from Rick Rule because I have the closest relationship with Rick Rule, probably him and Justin Hume, but probably Rick. And so, the biggest things I've learned is patience. This is not a overnight trade. So I've seen many investors, like there's been times where I've had guests come on and talk about the bullish case for uranium, and many investors lose money when it goes on a downturn, and they're like, "Oh, you were wrong" and stuff. And then a week later, it just spikes significantly. And so, actually, if I if I could share a chart really quick, I'm going to
Yeah, of
share.
course.
So I recently had uh, Justin Hune on the channel, and there were some folks that were just kind of like, hey, like he got it wrong again, because we interviewed around this time frame when uranium was getting beat up, and then now Cameco just spiked up, and I was actually buying here at the lows of 36 $37, and now it's just up significantly. So I think that many people are short-sighted. And so for me, I want to make sure that I'm not investing based on a a short-term thesis. And so, and I say investing, not trading. Like trading, I can trade and do things of that nature, but when it comes to investing, I have to have a longer term outlook. So that's one thing that I'm considering. Um, Another thing I've learned are really like the basic principles of wealth building. For me, like I want to be wealthy, not rich. I want to have substance with what I do, and I've learned a lot from Rick in terms of like mistakes he's made with trades and how he's thought he's gotten smarter than he actually was, and lost money and missed out on opportunities and such. And so learning how he blew his fortune. He made a fortune early on and he blew it. And so I was in a similar situation, like not necessarily with a fortune, but it's like, oh, man, I lost a lot of money, trying to speculate and trying to be smarter than I actually am with certain things. And so, or when things just turn that you can't expect, that you don't expect, like for example, I lost a lot of money in when Russia invaded Ukraine, and I got into those equities were so cheap, and I lost way less money than some folks that I know. I was talking with a guy who lost 80 grand in there, and I was like, oh yeah, I didn't lose that much, but you know, you know, but just like how to bounce back from that, and so. And being able to invest in tranches and being able to invest what you can afford to lose, uh, you know, applying the consistent principles of like spending less than you earn or budgeting, things of that nature. Like, how do you keep building wealth? How do you preserve it? Buying gold, and like, okay, this can be my savings, my insurance. And so those are a lot of things that I've learned that I do in my daily life now, and so those are some things that I've learned.
Okay, so number one being patience. This is not a trade. This is investing. And number two, you've learned a lot of just basics that the gurus have done, and you've absorbed that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like it doesn't sound as like sexy when we say basics, but it's like really critical. Like, because we receive, at least for me, and I'm sure you do too, but we get a lot of knowledge, but when it comes to application and then when it comes to um experience, those are two different things, right? And so there's been times where I've engaged with the markets with a lot of head knowledge and I've blew it. And so now I'm getting that experience and I'm learning and it's helping me actually build wealth and preserve wealth. And so yeah, for sure.
Nice. Let's see how much time we got. Okay. What are some of the favorite commodities that you follow? We know you follow uranium.
Yes, yes. So gold, obviously, gold is my top favorite, and I buy gold for wealth preservation and insurance. And so if I'm going to speculate, I'll buy some of the gold miners. I am into the gold royalty and streaming companies because they are less risky, even though they don't have as much upside. But I think that in this space, I have seen some upturns, upticks, and some downturns and everything. And so I think that the royalty and streamers are a safe space for me to be because sometimes I don't have the time. Like Steve, like on your show, like I've noticed you go into like the deep details of companies and everything. And sometimes and for me, like it's like, okay, well, let me have a streaming company do that for me. And so I think someone asked the question if I own Empress Metals. Like, yes, I do. And that's part of the reason why is because these royalty and streamers, like they go out and assess the risk. They find the projects that are best to invest in, and they're printing cash. And so those are some ways that I like to participate in gold from an equity standpoint. Other than that, it's physical, holding physical, and then I also do jewelry as well. Silver, I stack silver. I'm not as much into silver equities as I am into the actually stacking the metal, but I do participate in the equities and in some shape or form, but not a whole lot. Uranium is the one that I have probably like the second most conviction on because gold is like something that's going to last thousands of years. Uranium, there's still a catalyst that could blow up this whole thesis, right? And that's any type of nuclear disaster. So that risk is always there. Gold has stood through everything, right? So uranium is my second choice. And right now in uranium, we are experiencing just a significant amount of bullish news. And so I'm actually going to share a chart here for the audience, and we're going to look at the uranium, the commodity. I mean, right now, uranium is, I was wondering what was the cause of this downturn in uranium, and it's stabled off, around 70, $79, $80. And this was like, this is the spot market. So now it's actually in line with the term market, which are the contracts in which utilities are contracting with miners and producers to secure the physical commodity. And so it's come down to this level. And I was kind of wondering in terms of the charts of, like, let's look at Cameco, for example. I'm just pulling this up because I had it up. This isn't my only uranium stock, but Cameco came down and roared significantly, and we haven't seen the commodity necessarily move in that way. So I think that there's a lot of bullish news that is coming out about uranium, especially with the data centers. The data centers, and we had Microsoft. They had bought a company earlier this year. Google did something with, I forgot what exactly who they partnered with, but they secured some I think it was with the energy company as well for nuclear power. We've had Amazon. Well, actually, Amazon did something earlier this year. Then we had recently had the news of Microsoft and Constellation in the 3 Mile Island, right? And that news. And there continues to be these big, huge tech companies that are wanting to power AI, and they're like, we need to do this in a clean and efficient way. And I've just seen, I haven't been in the uranium space as long as some folks, but the the sentiment that I've seen since I've been in it has changed like a 180, and this has been over the last 4 years, especially, with government passing bills and policies to uh, to bring uranium back online, or for enrichment, or for building more nuclear power reactors and such. And so, like, you have this government support across the world. You have big tech companies that many people were just like hyped up about. Everyone was about the FANG, right? The Magnificent Seven. The Magnificent Seven is hyping up uranium and nuclear. NVIDIA CEO just came out recently and said this is the way that these companies are going to go, and that they're considering as well. So I'm just fully bullish on this commodity, and I mean, even a lot of the technologies that are coming out and such. And so uh, that's where I'm at. I'm like, hey, I'm positioning myself. I think it's going to be a longer term, 3 to 5 year, maybe even longer than that. But I'm positioning now.
Yeah, what's your breakdown in your uranium bet? Do you buy into the physical, like the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, or are you strictly in the miners?
So I have Sput, and then I have miners, and then I also have the ETF, the Sprott Uranium ETF, URNM.
Okay.
I have a little bit of URNJ as well, but ETFs for just like, hey, someone else is managing it. I'm going to participate in the upside, but then, I'll buy some of the, like, Denison Mines, Next Gen, and Cameco. And so when we had this recent downturn in the equities, I did mostly get into the larger caps. I think that there's going to be a lot more capital coming into these larger caps as well. I think the smaller caps are going to outperform the larger caps over the longer term. But I wanted to get back position in Cameco because I was buying Cameco at $12 back in 2020, and I sold it at like 20 something dollars, and now I'm just like, why the hell I do that, Like, so so yeah, so I'm really just like positioning myself for longer term. So whenever I see these pullbacks and these dips, I'm buying because yeah, I mean governments across the world are investing in this. I mean, some news just came out from Vladimir Putin that they're looking at some of the materials that they're exporting and to unfriendly nations and stuff. And so, like, who knows what's going to happen with that? We had the U.S. pass a bill to ban Russia uranium, enriched uranium from Russia, and so I mean we got Kazakhstan freaking they're probably gonna miss production next year. So I'm just pulling these stories from like just everywhere, and I'm just bullish on it, bullish on the sector, and I do think that there's you can't say that there's zero risk, but I think that a lot of these companies are going to benefit from this.
Yeah, we do as well. Yeah, I mean, less supply and diminishing supply and increasing demand. What more do you need to know? All righty, Daryl. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. I know you got a heart out, and I want to respect that. If someone wants to get in touch with you, follow your work, your YouTube channel, where can they go to do so?
Yes, yes. So you can go to the money levels, levels as in plural, with the S at the end, show, and that's on YouTube. And you can catch some of the interviews that I've been doing with many experts in this space, including Steve himself. And you can also follow me on X. I'm on X under Money Levels Show, and so on there you may see me engage with folks or send some important retweets of people that I'm following and things of that nature. So yeah, yeah, happy to answer questions and things that people may have. I'm trying to build a community over there. And so yeah, feel free to come on over and check it out.
Right on. Well, thank you, Daryl. We'll put links down in the show notes below. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yes, yes, thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. Be sure to support the show and share this with anyone that you think needs to hear it. It's probably your buddy that can't stop talking about tech stocks. You have yourself a great rest of the day, and we will talk to you next time.